Okay, let's see. All right, looks like I am live. I hope you're all doing well and welcome in. I'm going to give the whole world a few minutes to see that the chat and this live stream is live. I want to welcome you all in again. Of course, I'll start with a little PSA on where the streams have been. I was traveling. I went to the Nextcloud conference. They had kind of a more corporate-oriented conference that I was a part of, and so I was in Europe for a few weeks for that. Not just for that, but due to that, and also other traveling and other conferences I was attending. And then I came home for a couple weeks, had to really focus on getting out just regular Techlore content. And then I had an event I was invited to in Switzerland as well. So it's just been a lot of traveling, and I also wanted to prioritize our regular content, which has been really strong. And I'm really glad I was able to still find time for the encryption stuff happening right now around the world, as well as the age verification stuff in the UK, which I'd love to talk about more today. And I know you guys probably have questions about it too, so I'd love to open that up as a Q&A. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be back for these weekly streams. I also didn't want to start the streams and then disappear again to travel again, so I'm starting them again because I assume that everything will be pretty consistent from here on out. So I'm excited to have you all back for the weekly streams. And next week's forum post is already live. And of course, today the main highlight is we're going to talk about G Suite, and we're going to talk about someone who moved away from G Suite. And so we kind of just left the thread going forever. So there's 54 posts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in order to keep this stream not 8 hours and make sure all of us have time to do other things in our lives, I'm going to go through and give some of these, like the main highlight one, of course, a lot of attention. And then as I go, if I see something in particular that I really want to dive far into, then I'll go ahead and give it the normal like 3 to 5 minute spiel on the win. But otherwise, I'm going to keep today a little bit more brief just so we can catch ourselves up and make sure we can start next week like kind of on a fresh foot with ourselves. So welcome everybody. Say hi if you're in the live chat. I'm seeing some people who showed some excitement. I'm not too concerned. LTT, yes, they put out a video, but they were specifically blocked because I think they recommended like some kind of ad blocking tools. There was something a little bit more they did. We actually have a lot of delete Google videos. Actually, if you type in Techlore, I don't think they directly copied us. That's not what I'm saying. But if you type in like Techlore delete Google and you look at my thumbnail and you look at the LTT thumbnail, and my video came out like probably like over 5 years ago at this point, they're not far off. So either the style back then was ahead of its time or it's just a crazy coincidence, who knows. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. I talk a lot about deleting Google and I've never seen an issue on YouTube, on my end at least. I just don't recommend like ways to circumvent like ad blocking, which I think is their main thing. Not formally for YouTube, if you know what I mean. Christopher said they missed these lives. YouTube, since I've been gone, released this top fans feature. So I guess you guys are top fans. Apparently my Brighton is #1. Is that per stream or is that like a channel-wide thing? Yeah, and then PewDiePie also made a good Linux video, which is cool to see. Like, it's cool to see some of these mainstream creators really talk about the stuff that we've been talking about for a decade. And I think it speaks to how the fight does kind of work. Like, it's leaking into the mainstream, which is what we want to see, so it's great. Yes, welcome back, Joshi, Garujo, and Hyper Craxy. Hello, guys. Jaden, welcome back. Let me know if my video and audio are good. I'd love to see that. Darloff, yes, feel free, like, please come say hi. The format's going to be pretty similar this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go through the wins and the forum posts. And again, we're going to keep it a little bit more brief this week so we can get through all of them and give everyone attention because there are a lot of posts from the last several weeks. And then the one different thing is, again, we'll have a Q&A as always. If you're in the Signal group, if you're one of our Techlorians, feel free to send along your wins or your questions. And then I'll do the Q&A at the end of the wins. And then the one thing that's different, I'm trying something so we can be more engaged. I've never used this feature before, and if it doesn't work, we won't keep using it. but I wanted to do this like goal feature. Apparently it ends in 46 minutes. Okay, I tried to do it for 2 hours. But if we reach the goal, then I will share something of my own this week. And what I want to share is if I had to pick like a big tech company to go all in on, like you hold a gun to my head and you say you're going to only use a big tech company for the next 10 years of your life, and then I have to pick one, and I'll share my feelings on which big tech company I'll go with. So if we reach that goal, then I'll go ahead and touch on that, and kind of, I thought it was a fun thing, and if you guys have better ideas for something to try next time, very open to hearing it. Without further ado, we just passed 100 people, so let's go ahead and start with Grand External. So they canceled their G Suite account of 20 years, and I just want to really highlight how long of a time period that is. You know, all the emails, all the data, all the photos, all the communication, everything in an account for 20 years between their wife and I. They migrated all their emails and data to Proton, canceled newsletters. Google gives you a grace period of 51 days. Is that like 51 days from like when you, do they really say, oh, you have 51 days after you click delete? Because if so, that's a pretty random number, which I'll let run out before deleting the accounts completely. One thing I'm a little bit concerned about is keeping my Google Voice number, as it's proven handy from time to time. Not sure if I'll lose that as part of the G Suite deletion. I set up a hushed phone number for $25 lifetime to use to create new anonymous Google account for YouTube. So yes, massive wins here. Again, if you have any account for 20 years, we all know the journey that is required to work through some of these changes. And so massive props to Grand External. And yeah, honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan of Hushed, and Google Voice, to me, like if there's any reason I have to keep an old Google account around, it probably would be for Google Voice, because it's a pretty solid service and doesn't really have any massive privacy implications versus using something like Hushed. Like it's an SMS app, right? But I am curious because G Suite used to be their formal business offering, and then they renamed it, rebranded to Google Workspace. And so I don't know if you delete the Workspace account if you still get access to that Google Voice number. And so that's a really good question, and maybe it's worth reaching out to Google for that, because if you could maybe transfer it to a personal account, that would be really solid. But overall, just want to congratulate you and your wife on the journey. And I know many people listening have gone through the Google process. Maybe not those of you leaving comments on YouTube right now, maybe not you, but people who aren't doing that, I'm sure have gone through the journey. So just massive congrats to you. And then one minor announcement too. So I did a beta for PeerTube just the last stream, and it went perfectly fine. It's just this week I wanted to keep things as simple as possible just so we can get going again. So next week my goal is to have PeerTube back up. There's no formal reason for no PeerTube this week, other than I just want to keep things as simple and straightforward as I can just to get us back on track. So Qt, 2 more friends switched to Zen. Both were fed up with Chrome and wanted a feature-rich browser, so I suggested Zen along with uBlock Origin. It's a really solid browser recommendation right now for people coming from Chrome. It might be a bit different because it's not Chromium based, but Zen seems to be a very popular browser. I would just make them aware that it is still in beta, I believe, so if they experience bugs, that's just part of the process of being on a beta browser. They helped both cousins in starting to use Proton Pass. Awesome. They shifted from Linux Mint to Fedora. I didn't even last a week before distro hopping. Linux Mint just wasn't that friendly to me. Yeah, I actually have similar feelings towards Linux Mint. It's easy to set up. It has a lot of device compatibility, but for me, I don't connect with the Cinnamon desktop environment. I know you can change the environment on any distro, but I just didn't have that click with Linux Mint, which is why people like to distro hop, so that they can find what clicks with them. Yeah, Linux community really gatekeeps distros, which is really interesting. My Linux tier list video that I put out had a lot of comments of this is the best one, and it's well, the whole reason I structured the video the way it is, and a lot of people are this isn't actually a tier list video, is because there's no way to do a tier list video without inherently saying this is better than that. So anyway, one major thing I did was create a shared folder on Mega containing all the important documents of me and my family in one place. Yeah, I have probably more favorable views towards Mega than the general community from what I can tell. I still have a Mega account that I use for their drop feature, which I really enjoy. So what I'll do after interviews sometimes with the guests on Techlore Talks, I have a Techlore drop folder. Proton did recently, I think, release a feature so that you can essentially have a folder that anyone can upload to. So I could use Proton now for this, Proton Drive. But Mega always had this feature for the last like 5 years. And so I've always just had a Techlore Mega account that I use literally just to send to interview guests so that they can upload their footage afterwards. It's a really cool feature that they offer. My dad switched from Fedora to Mint today. Good to have balance in the universe. It's really funny. So yeah, again, guys, Linux, there's a different distro for anyone out there. So please, as long as you're on Linux and you're reaping the benefits, then you're getting the benefits. Kind of an unplanned privacy one. I've made the migration to a hotspot life with no cell line. My Pixel I purchased on Amazon about 1.5 years ago ended up getting blacklisted. I'd love to learn more about that. I hope it's nothing too suspicious. And I'm not in a position to buy a new phone, so my SIM is living in a hotspot. Honestly, not that bad and kind of free. I can just shut off the network anytime and still have access to local files. Yeah, this is super interesting. So I did a partial experiment with this. So I mentioned this when I did my Calyx hotspot review several years ago. I think the Calyx hotspots are phenomenal devices. I used one for over a year, and I actually ditched my home Wi-Fi altogether. Like I literally didn't have home Wi-Fi, and all I did was my Calyx hotspot. And I remember trying to live stream on that, and it caused some issues here and there, if you guys remember some of those really ancient live streams. I learned a lot about it, and of course I no longer am doing that. I have Wi-Fi now. I have a NAS. It's very nice to have home Wi-Fi, I must say, especially when it's fiber. But it was nice. Like there was something really cool about having the same Wi-Fi network literally everywhere you go. You never connect to public Wi-Fi. You always just have a nice solid Wi-Fi connection. So it's a fun workflow. I really enjoyed it, and I did it for about a year, and I would recommend it for anybody who wants to try it out. I just wouldn't expect it to be like a 10-year solution for most people. I look at it the same way as like people doing van life for a summer, where they try out van life, they say that was really cool, maybe 1 out of 10 people continue doing it, but the other 9 are going, well, yeah, I kind of miss having a permanent space. So just something to try out. But I hope you find whatever works for you, Rasta. Yeah, how did you get your phone blacklisted? I'm glad somebody asked. I didn't do anything. Whoever owned it before I bought it off Amazon reported it lost or stolen. Oh, or they stopped paying for it. Either way, I get screwed, and whoever had it before me got a payday. This is actually the second time I've had this happen. I've never heard of this before. I guess that's something to watch out for if you're buying used devices. So good to know. Thanks for sharing, Rasta. Okay, I'm going to do one more from Gudujo, who's a regular, and a Techlorian. Out of all the people I expected, my brother asked for a password manager. I set him up with Proton Pass and joined him in my family plan. He's even thinking about using Proton VPN in his suite, which is great. And considering his stance on privacy, huge win overall to say the least. More than justifies the cost. Now me and my friend are paying for Proton Family, and that's honestly really cool. Good job splitting costs. That's a good little workaround. I probably should have mentioned that in the privacy budget video I made. I didn't really touch on like account sharing or anything like that, but that's a really good hack. To save some money. Okay, now I'm going to take a break from the wins. I think we're about like 1/5 of the way there, and I'm going to check in on comments. So first, for our Signal group, let's see. A stream again after quite some time, says Nick. Yes, it's good to be back. Michael says over 100 people, and Michael says Mega is really user-friendly. Both web and app are solid. Yeah, I agree. I think Mega's pretty underrated. I wouldn't use it for like the absolute most sensitive things, but actually they have some cool features that not even Proton Drive has. So one of the biggest little technical breakdown here, one of the biggest criticisms that Proton gets, which is actually valid. Like, you know, there's tons of people who, you know, shit on Proton for pretty stupid things that aren't actually real concerns. Like, it's like, oh, they don't let you register for Tor easily. And I go, yeah, that sucks. I wish they did, but that doesn't mean it's a honeypot, right? Like that's a big jump to make, in my opinion. But one thing that people do criticize that I think is very valid is that you are kind of trusting Proton every time you log in to serve you non-malicious JavaScript. The attack that people talk about is if they're able to, you know, if they're forced to target a specific user, theoretically, if Proton could issue malicious JavaScript when they're logging in so that, you know, it's not proper end-to-end encryption, etc. Mega has kind of worked around this issue altogether because Mega has an extension that you can install which essentially serves the JavaScript / encryption locally on your device. So there's no way for Mega to even issue the JavaScript that's needed for the encryption if you have the extension. So I would really love to see Proton have an extension, and maybe since they have Proton Pass, it could be done through Proton Pass. Is kind of an idea, but it would be really cool to see Proton have some of these more like high security features. So yeah, that's a little neat thing that Mega does, and it's not a reason I would recommend Mega over Proton, but it's one cool thing that Mega does. Let me go ahead and check out some of these comments. Welcome back, says Jaden. Yes, yes, thank you guys, and it's good to be back. Let's see, it's Apple. Yeah, it's complicated. I have like pros and cons to share. Gonna slip a privacy in real quick. I didn't give a street magician my phone pin when he asked me to write it down for a trick. That's pretty funny. Is this showing? Oh, sorry guys. I have two chats open right now. One's OBS chat and one, I'm gonna hide the OBS one. That's kind of useless. Actually, if I have the other one here. Let's see. Yes, okay. I didn't give a street magician my phone pin when he asked me to write it down for a trick. Yeah, that's, I guess, a win. I haven't seen that before, but I'm glad you didn't give your pin up. Maybe it was just a hacker. Yeah, Guru just says Google and Apple for them. I think Apple's the least evil of big tech. Yeah, interesting. What's the safest debloat tool in terms of OPSEC and security? For which operating system? Orb, I feel like that's a very broad question, and it could be a lot of different things. I'd like to add Portmaster to my privacy sandbox, but I wonder if I really need an SPN for my threat model, and I'm doing VMs on my computer, which is incompatible with Portmaster. What do you think? I would ask why you're using Portmaster, like what functionality are you trying to get from it? Portmaster has a lot of features that actually can cater to really high threat models or really low ones. Like the Portmaster can do things like ad blocking, help with ad blocking, and it can block a lot of malicious domains, and it can block a lot of tracker domains that your programs utilize. So, you know, I could make the argument that a person who is just asking, what's one thing I can do to help the privacy on my Windows computer? Theoretically, just installing Portmaster and just leaving it on the background and enabling like one of their basic filters is actually a very impactful thing for their privacy. So I'd have to ask like what benefit you're getting from Portmaster. But you know, if you're only installing safe software on your computer, everything's open source, and then like you're on Linux and the browser that you're using already does this tech, then yeah, maybe you're not actually getting that much value from the Portmaster. So again, it's a kind of complicated situation. I'd have to learn a little bit more, if you don't mind expanding, of course. Switched to Linux from Windows and canceled my Microsoft 365 subscription. Congrats to your wallet, congrats to your privacy, congrats to your like mental stability so you don't have to use Windows anymore. Congrats to everything, honestly, so good job. And then they did Linux Mint, so now the universe is once again imbalanced. Let's see. I use Proton Drive because it comes with VPN. Yep, if you're in the Proton suite, then that makes things pretty easy. After watching your vids on Delete Me, I switched to Easy Opt-outs, which saves a lot of money for me, and seeing what Delete Me was doing left a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah, I'm guessing that you're talking about the Techlore Clips video that summarized this, or you watched the full-length like Techlore stream that I did talking about the whole data removal service drama. It's more like better information that's come out. For those who might have missed this, there was really good research done by Consumer Reports, which talked about all these data removal services, and it pretty much showed that a large amount of them weren't as effective as they were advertising, and Delete Me, unfortunately, was one of those providers. And yeah, Delete Me was one of the sponsors of Techlore. I was personally using Delete Me, right? Like, people who sponsor Techlore, like, I pick these sponsors. We get offers every single day from sponsors, and so when I pick a sponsor and present it to you guys, it's not because they're just paying money, it's because it's like, no, like I actually believe these people, I could use this, or I currently use this, and Delete Me was one of those. And it was really interesting to read that research, and I was like, ah, crap. So then I saw Easy Opt-outs, and then Easy Opt-outs technically sponsor surveillance support, but they've never sponsored Techlore. And Optory also performed very well, and they've never sponsored anything that Techlore surveillance support does. And so those were the two well-performing ones that Consumer Reports found. And so I fully migrated to easy opt-outs. And the cool thing is it's like significantly cheaper than Delete Me. And I got to talk to the easy opt-out guys. It's just a couple dudes who just run a cool service. And as for the future of the space, because these aren't trustless models, I had an interview with Dan Saltman recently from Redact, and they're planning a different method where essentially you do the deletion locally on your end. And I'm really excited to see if they deliver on that promise, because if they're able to do that, that probably could be the best case scenario where you don't have to trust a company with your data, you don't have to send them anything, you do it all on your end, and it's no different than the manual deletion process, just completely automated. So that's kind of the future that I'm hoping for the data removal. Let's see here. I use VMware. What VM software do you? Okay, that's asking someone else. Okay. You don't care what VM software I use? I'm just playing around. Let's see. Oh, great. YouTube just skips through the comments. How do you manage with friends, like most things they share on Google Drive or Google Photos? I guess it depends. Which direction is, yeah. Either way, Ente, I know recently released like really nice sharing, so you can have public folders that friends can upload to without them needing an Ente account. And then of course, if they're using Google Photos, just make sure you're uploading non-sensitive photos that you're okay with Google having. So you either have control over this or you don't if it's their account. Mulvad needs more attention than Proton. They all get good attention. You know, I think when there's a bajillion crap VPNs out there, and I think the 4 VPN providers, Windscribe, Mulvad, iVPN, why am I? Mulvad, iVPN, Windscribe, and Proton. I think we can give all 4 of those a lot of attention because they all prioritize slightly different things. And if we give those 4 a lot of attention, I'm happy with that, given there's a bajillion VPN providers. Just tuning in, have you talked about Proton Authenticator yet? So no, and I've purposefully not tried it yet because I'm going to do a comparison video hopefully today/tomorrow because I've been using Ente Auth, which has been hands down the best recommendation I can give to everyone out there. It's open source, you can use it offline or you can use it cross-platform, and it has end-to-end encrypted syncing for every major platform, from I believe Linux to iOS, Android, everything. And so it's by far the best TOTP recommendation. So I'd like to do a side-by-side and compare my first impressions of Proton Auth. So I don't have any thoughts yet, but I'd love to make a video on it. So hopefully expect that soon. Let's see. Yeah, I'm seeing number 2. Are you guys fighting for number 1, 2, 3? Easy opt-out's price converts to 15 euros a year. Honestly, not bad. Yeah, it's like, I'm telling you, it's literally dirt cheap compared to the other services. It might not be dirt cheap for everyone out there, depending on, you know, your budget and things like that. But when you're comparing it to these other services that sometimes charge that yearly rate per month, it's night and day. See. I used 2FAS, didn't know Proton did 2FA. Yeah, I believe they released it literally yesterday, so this is pretty fresh news. Who's number 1? Okay, let me go back to the wins. Passwordless. Okay, we got a bit here. So again, this is a week with a ton of wins because we haven't done the stream in a while. So I'm going to try to keep things as brief as possible, not to discount your guys' awesome wins. So main win, finishing their cross-device strategy after building a PC and installing Fedora. The idea is to use my laptop for my professional life as I have no choice but to use Windows for apps such as the Microsoft Office suite since their web apps are actual garbage. The actual strategy comes in when I decided to add SyncThing into the mix so that I have a convenient yet private and secure file sharing between my machines, which is really awesome. They also have certain files like your KeePass database being shared and updated automatically. And SyncThing plus KeePass is a really good workflow if you guys have never tried that. In progress win. They're finishing some scripts to automate installing apps, removing bloats, as well as an rsync backup script, which they plan to use both in a manual and automated way. Maybe Win switch from Brave to Firefox as my logged-in browser due to hardware acceleration issues. So just to summarize that, it seems like you're still working through your device workflows and trying to get files and everything synced across them. A bit of help / tips. I've been through this myself. I used to have like 2 operating systems, 3 operating systems installed on my desktop, and then I had like a work laptop, a personal laptop, a tablet, and frankly, I just got so sick of it. I got so sick of trying to set up scripts and try to use SyncThing and trying to make sure everything synchronized. I spent so much time getting it all set up, and it would work maybe for, you know, a week, but then something goes wrong and then I have to troubleshoot, and I got really frustrated. So for me, the approach that worked well for me is I just got a NAS. The NAS centralizes all of my files, and then I don't really use my endpoint devices for any real long-term file storage. I might use those endpoint devices, like if I'm editing a video, I'll keep the project files for that project, and then when I'm done, I move it right to the NAS. And that way, if I ever wanted to add a new device to my workflow, if I wanted to get a tablet, if I wanted to get a different computer, I essentially could just day one connect to the NAS and then just make sure my software is all there and I'm done. So that was the approach that worked best for me. And I'm seeing some of you guys be annoying. I'll give a verbal warning. Please don't spam the chat. But I'm glad to have you guys in here. So please just try to keep the comments easy for me to go through. Let's see here. I got inspired by the last stream after donating to your favorite project, so I started to donate to Signal again after a long break. This also made me think how we often have a tendency to take things for granted and don't really consider what would happen if a certain service didn't exist. If anyone is interested, this keynote talk with Meredith was really good and reminded me why Signal's an important tool in this time. So yes, thank you for supporting Signal, and if you want a reminder, again, from last stream, which was a good while ago, make sure to support projects, and it could be as simple as just every 3 months, donating $5 to just your single favorite project and just doing that alone. So that's a total of $20 a year from all of you. If all of you did that, you have no idea how much that injects into the space. Like seriously, the raising the bar is not that hard when a lot of people are just donating $5 every few months. Doesn't sound like much, I promise it makes a big difference. Quantum is a bronze Techlorian, woot woot. Thank you for supporting Techlore. They've settled a concern with iCloud Plus Advanced Data Protection. Rather than abandon a service they've been quite happy with. So their concern has been the exposure of metadata and the convergent encryption with ADP. And this is a bit more technical, but they just think that they're not happy with how Apple has still a little bit of insight into their end-to-end encryption. So they just added Cryptomator vaults to iCloud Drive. On the threat model front, I've streamlined it to categorize data into 3 general buckets. Level 1 is encryption in transit preferred, end-to-end encryption not needed. Level 2, information that requires end-to-end encryption for content but not metadata. And then information where the internal content and metadata require end-to-end encryption. This is a bit more technical. I don't think most people need to think about this, or I think for the average person, just enabling advanced data protection, if you haven't already in your iCloud account, is already going to give you 80, 90, 99% of the benefits. But if you want to be a little bit more conservative and you want to be a bit safer about things, you can definitely also add advanced data protection in addition to something like an encrypted Cryptomator vault. And I made a whole video on that just a few months ago when the UK tried to ban, and actually kind of successfully did, that's still unfolding, advanced data protection, iCloud's end-to-end encryption. And so I made a Cryptomator guide to show you guys how to set up your own encryption, essentially. So that's a video on the channel. All right, installed Mint on my sister's laptop. She was only using it to watch Netflix and listen to music on Spotify, so nothing that Linux couldn't handle. It was very fun. I think Mint is really winning this week on the balance. So the universe is once again imbalanced. Rolls Ice Cream, they installed Calyx on my Motorola phone after they announced Calyx compatibility with one of their phones. It's actually a dream that became a reality ever since I had that new phone. It's a godsend since it seems like Motorola already stopped security updates. Oh my God, Johnny-O's back! Johnny-O! Yes, it's so, Johnny-O just jumped straight to #1. No, that's awesome. Definitely give Johnny-O a thumbs up, and we love Johnny-O for always supporting these streams. Thank you, Johnny-O. And yes, big W in the chats. And yeah, Johnny's back. Celebrate, celebrate. No, thanks, Johnny. Like, it's always good to have you in the streams. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. To go back to the Motorola, I love, and this is something that I wish was discussed more. So like graphene is very narrow focused and they just want, the best security. And so they're very focused on just pixel devices. But something that isn't talked about enough is that device compatibility is a real thing. Like you can't get pixels in every country around the world. Some people have older devices. They don't want to give Google money for whatever reason. And so I think Calyx, Lineage, all these other ROMs still have a very, sorry, my dog is scratching himself. I'll let him finish. So there's a really real use case and all these projects can exist together, right? And I think Calyx does a good job of still they're continually expanding their device compatibility. So I have a Fairphone that I can load Calyx onto, it's really cool, and they just released these new Motorola's. My only thing I really wish would happen is that they supported a small Android device because these Motorola phones are like literally almost 7 inches, some of them, and it blows my mind. So I would love to see that. Let's see. Squash. Oh my gosh, this is long. Okay. I discovered this forum because I prefer some reading and applying things on my own. I always prioritize. Welcome in, and I'd love to have you here and on the forum. I was trying to attain a secure environment as possible without paying any money as a personal challenge as a student. Again, I made a like privacy on a budget video that's really good for people in this kind of situation, and it's been extremely well received, and a lot of you seem to like that. And it's actually inspired by a post I made on the forum. So definitely check that out if you're curious on like free / very low cost privacy tools. They're using KeePass and SyncThing to sync across them, as well as Cryptomator. And it looks like they also use Ente for their 2FA. They're also using Arch-based OS. It works fine. And they also are fine with Firefox for Profile Maker and Brave for some reasons. And it looks like you have a lot of other cool tools. So again, I'm trying to keep it a bit more brief this week because we have a ton of wins to get through. But it seems like you're making a huge amount of progress. And these are all tools that I've used or highly recommend people look into. And just a quick, it's nice that you bolded them. I'm just looking through the bolded tools, and those are all fantastic tools. And it's cool to see your future plan to try to self-host your own cloud server once your notes are done and you have enough budget. Hope I can learn more with you guys, and also good luck with your studies. And I hope that you can continue the low-cost privacy journey while still going to school. And it's something that I hope people remember, because people think that you need to pay for privacy, and yes, you will definitely get access to better privacy and easier privacy at times if you pay, but it's not a requirement. A lot of the tools are free, and those are also some of the most trusted tools at times. So I donated, or should I say purchased, a feature in a privacy-respecting app. Finally happy to contribute to apps and projects I daily use. And yes, thank you for injecting some of that support into the digital rights space. You're doing awesome. Small wins this week from a patron. Thank you for supporting Techlore. They moved to Ente Auth. They started using Fedora KDE on a daily basis in addition to their Mac Mini. It's really fun. They added 2FA to a couple of additional services, and they restarted a small monthly donation to their favorite FOSS projects. Congrats, guys. I'm really happy to see you all step up and take the last message from the last stream seriously and step forward and support projects. So thank you and good job. And I hope that my Proton Auth video maybe doesn't, or maybe it does, who knows, but maybe you'll switch from Ente Auth to Proton Auth. Maybe I will, I don't know. I also heard from someone who already tested Proton's new Authenticator that it uses some of the liquid glass design language. So I guess we'll see. I'll do one more here and then I'll go back to the comments. Plasma, I've had huge wins. They bought an up-to-date router because the previous one wasn't getting firmware updates. They got camera covers with sliders for their phone. They downloaded Brave for more family members, and they love it so far. That's a really good one to start people on with. And they told one of their friends about the telemetry and privacy concerns of Windows. He will fully move over from a Windows 11 to Linux Mint. Another friend is currently checking out distros, what to choose. Awesome wins. The Brave switch alone is massive, and converting someone away from Windows is a huge win, so you should be really proud of that. Okay, and we already covered Grand External, and that's not one, so I will go ahead and move back to comments. You guys in the comments, you can start leaving your wins, you can leave questions, so please Feel free to have some fun in there. Just try to avoid spamming the chat if you can to make things easy for me. Johnny is back, as we've seen. So again, thank you, Johnny. Let's see here. Where were we? Oh man, you guys left a lot of comments since then. Hello, Wicktron and Ethan J.A. Can you do a YubiKey giveaway? I don't have extra YubiKeys to give away. I actually really don't like doing giveaways for a few reasons. One, it attracts a lot of bots. So back in the day, this didn't used to happen, but there are literally bots, like especially on social media platforms like Twitter and X or whatever. There's literally accounts that exist just to see, like track certain keywords and try to like enter giveaways. So it's really hard to essentially tell what's a bot or what's a real person who's just trying to get, like a bot is just trying to get free stuff essentially. It doesn't encourage like the kind of organic community I'm trying to go for either. And really the biggest reason of all those is it's just logistically a nightmare. Like convincing people to like give me their home address is kind of weird from a privacy perspective. It's hard to do that in the right privacy respecting way. Actually doing shipping and handling, I've had situations in the past too where like things weren't delivered properly and then it was a whole nightmare. And then I feel guilty because then like the person doesn't actually get the thing on time. So it's kind of a mess to run physical giveaways. I'm a little bit more open to doing digital giveaways. But yeah, it's not something I just haven't seen a huge amount of like desire for it either. So that's kind of my reasoning for giveaways. So it's unlikely, but if you guys disagree and want to see something, let me know. Yara also donated a Signal. Good job, Yara. Could be any project. I can't get anybody over to Signal. Managed to get my family over from Messenger to WhatsApp though, at least. Facebook Messenger to WhatsApp. That's I don't know if that's a win because I think they're both Facebook, and I think Facebook Messenger now has end-to-end encryption as well. So it's probably going to be a pretty similar place. So yeah, I don't think it's a loss, but I don't know if that's a win. I haven't looked too much into Facebook Messenger. Signal's releasing end-to-end encrypted backups. They'll have a source of revenue to go about. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about it. Have they already said they're going to charge for like end-to-end encrypted backups? Is this pre-recorded? Can he prove it is live? Is me reading your live question and acknowledging it and saying hi, Wicktron, good enough for you? How else would you like me to verify this? Yeah, good question. bruh. Do banking apps work on Calyx OS and or Graphene OS? So I can show you this. I run a project. When I say I run, I mean it's under the Techlore umbrella. I am not a developer. So let's see. So I run a project called plexus.techlore.tech. We've been running this for what, probably over 5 years now. It's fully open source and essentially it's supposed to be crowdsourced data. So if you use any banking apps on Calyx or Graphene, definitely check them out. The tough thing about Graphene is they use their own sandbox play services and they advertise it as essentially it should just work. And so it's supposed to just work the same, and so we don't collect data for that specifically. But I think there are some charts online that do show which banking apps do and don't work with Graphene, so that's the one thing we couldn't do. But like if you were to do Bank of America, for example, I guess there's only one rating, and it looks like, see, I'm not a huge fan of the way the interface is laid out on desktop. I think it's better cleared on mobile. Because let's see, not rated / gold. Let's see. So this is gold. So apparently Bank of America works with MicroG, is what this says. So if you're using Calyx OS with MicroG, you can use Bank of America. And then if we have Chase, Chase only has 14 ratings. It's silver for both fully de-Googled and micro-G supposedly. So you should actually be able to use Chase on a fully de-Googled phone. Now again, there are some compatibility charts online for specifically graphene, but the way they do it's really hard to track with the way that we're tracking things here. So yeah, it's a cool project and check it out. And it's one of the only other, like, it's a more technical project that Techlore is involved with. Let's see here. Let's see. What's your opinion on Pop! OS? Oh, and Michael says AirBank works. I can confirm it's a Sheck bank. So that's one extra data point. And I hope you've submitted that to Plexus, Michael. So I've been curious, what's your opinion on Pop! OS? Yeah, so I don't have any strong opinions about Pop! OS, to be honest. I like that System 76 puts something together that's really like usable. I'm all for like a really nice, solid, mainstream-oriented Linux distro. I will say I've just heard a lot of people I know and trust have issues with it. That doesn't mean there are like issues for everybody with it, and it doesn't mean you're going to have issues. I've just heard random things go wrong with it. So that's it. That's my only opinion. So I say try it out. If you like it, then great. And I know some people who use it and it's their favorite distro. So I'd say try it out. Definitely distro hop. I don't have any reason to not recommend you to use Pop! OS. Let's see. Oh, we got a good jump. My God. Oh man, I feel like I haven't made any progress. Okay, sorry guys, we have a lot to go through, so I'm gonna try, this week I might be skipping through a few extra people. How can I make my Android phone more private without a custom ROM? So we're still in the middle of updating these, but I have specific device guides for this. So you can look up Android Privacy Security Guide from Techlore, and it's a full, like, in-depth guide on how to make any phone, not just custom ROMs, but any phone a bit more private on Android. And it's pretty extensive, so I think that's the best place to send you. Let's see. What do you think about IronFox? I don't know much about IronFox, so I don't have an opinion now. But yeah, I've heard a few people ask about it now, so I should probably dig into it at this point. Great. Yeah, we got someone who deleted WhatsApp and their mission to switch their family to Signal. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for making good changes, and I'm glad that hopefully I could help in some way, shape, or form. Let's see. Proton just announced an auth. Yep, I've talked about it a couple times now. I'm hoping to have a video out about that pretty shortly. Let's see. Blink 7.5 times if this is live. Yeah, sure. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Plexus app solid. Yeah, it's on F-Droid. It's open source. So I actually, that's one way that you can give back to something super easily. Like right now, download Plexus on F-Droid on your Android device, especially if you're using a custom ROM. Actually, it's only useful if you're using a custom ROM. And then go through and report ratings for your apps. Like, please, it helps other people. It makes it easier for other people to know which custom ROMs they can use and switch to. It's a pretty important project, which is why I started it. It used to be just a GitHub spreadsheet, and I'm really fortunate for the developers who just volunteered to help make it into what it is today. So yeah, it's really cool to see that develop. And it does rely on you guys, though, to actually contribute data and keep continuing to contribute ratings. Let's see. Is there a Techlore website with consolidated info from the videos? So yeah, I mean, we have techlore.tech/resources, which honestly is like going to overall TLDR everything in the videos. At least that's the goal. So techlore.tech/resources, you're gonna find like all the privacy tools. It's gonna put like the main guides here as well, and then kind of the main tools. Like this is supposed to be Techlore TLDR. Now, as for actual live streams, we had a couple of the team members leave not too long ago, and Techlore clips is typically where I would post like the cool clips from these live streams. The main thing, I finally have an editor again, and they're doing a great job, and we're kind of getting everything up to speed and clearing through the queue, which is why you guys have seen more uploads the last few weeks. But once things are fully caught up, then the clips channels will also start resuming as well. They are second priority to main content. So what you'll see is, you can already see a lot of like the clips from the streams on the clips channels. So check that out and follow there. And when we get caught up, then you'll start seeing these resume there. Yeah, sorry guys, I might be skipping some questions this week. It's not intentional, it's just because there's limited time. What privacy search engines do you recommend? Techlore.tech/resources. You know, use DuckDuckGo, Start Page, Brave Search. You can use searching. They're all great. Just try them out and see what works best for you. I personally really like, right now I've been using DuckDuckGo. I came from Brave Search. It's funny, like these things cycle around. I made a whole video. It's like, oh, I ditched DuckDuckGo. Now I'm moving to Brave Search, and then I'm using Brave Search, and I started using DuckDuckGo again, and I'm really liking the changes they made the last few years. So, yeah. Chats are crazy fast. Don't worry about missing things. Thank you. Yes, you're right. you all here late to the party, 7. But yes, let me go ahead and go back to the wins, because we still have a lot of wins to go through. So I love these threads. It's pretty awesome how everyone shares their wins and they can uplift each other and take inspiration from each other. Yes. And thank you for being a part of it. And I see that you probably left the forum, so didn't age you well, but I hope to have you back someday. Let's see. I switched from Nord and started using Mullvad, set up NextDNS on home router and iPhone, switched a whole lot of emails from Gmail to Proton, moved all my cloud storage photos and files to Ente Photo, and Proton Drive, using Brave and Start Page as my daily browser. I don't think I can do the full on Graphene OS and Pixel deal. That's too much. Great community here. And also a Bronze Techlorian, so welcome in. And thank you for your support, and also congrats on all the big switches. Those are all massive things to do very quickly and very effective, like very effective, quick changes that you can make. So good job. Let's see. The Tourist, I suggested to abandon Discord, and for once I actually got through. My friend group is looking at moving to Matrix, while my Formula student team is moving to something else too. They said TeamSpeak, but that doesn't look like much of an upgrade. I'm able to loosen part of my threat models. It turns out my dad is a lot more accepting than I had thought, so I no longer need to hide my activism from him. I am planning to have a carve-up of my Linux and Unix boxes. This is for a number of reasons, and they switched to main laptop, Raspberry Pi, cheap laptop, older laptop, and even older laptop, and they mentioned like the things that they switched to. Oh, apparently that's... Oh, I see, the share widget takes you to... Oh, I see, okay. They've tightened the security on their phone, and they're in a new flat. For those Americans, that means apartment. And my flatmates will be doing our own networking, which ought to improve security. Edit, I had to change the OSs, fingers crossed. A lot of changes there. Congrats on all the positive moves, it sounds like, and happy to have you here. Lucas, it's my first time posting here. I plan to follow up every few wins. This week's wins is switched from SwiftKey to Helloboard. They tried Fudo and some other things, but they settled on Helloboard, it seems like. They switched from Google Workspaces to purely mail, so it's another person who ditched G Suite. They went to DeepSeek from ChatGPT. I don't know if that's a win. I don't know. It depends how you're using DeepSeek, I suppose. From TickTick to Superlist, I don't know what either of those are. Obsidian instead of Notion, which I do think is a good move. InnoReader to Feeder, Truecaller to Should I Answer, and Smart Launcher to... I actually don't know a lot of these services, so I am just going to have to trust that these are big positive improvements for you. Privacy not wins of the week. They switched from Gmail to Outlook. They had to create a Google account for calendar usage, and they switched from Google One to OneDrive for cost reasons. They have a few other things they have planned, And I hope that you're able to update us on some of these things. And they also said they reduced their yearly expenses by $500. So that is one other thing to keep in mind. A lot of these open source services can actually be cheaper for you. And don't just, take full advantage of that. Like, you can. But what I'd recommend is, if you're normally paying $10 a month for something and you replaced it with a free service, then maybe give them $2 a month, give them $5 a month, right? Like, you're still getting savings there. So try to compare where you're coming from, because the reason those services exist and are free is because of people who support them. So try to do that. Working with multiple email accounts to disguise myself, joined a private cloud that has a friend of mine host. Cool, really, really simple and straightforward and nice, good wins. Tallulah. I have a group on a message board in which I'm active. I post about privacy and connection with topics. Before the protest this past weekend, I posted the EFF safety information and posted a Naomi Brockwell video for those that think they have no reason to be concerned. I got a reply in the group thanking me for the info because they attended with a phone and they consider that a win that someone then benefited from the information. So yeah, that again, people don't always know what the privacy issues are in the world. And it's really important that we learn how to educate others around us and not be overbearing and not be weird about it. Just tell them very transparently some of your concerns and just be like, hey, this is something you should know. And I think Naomi does a really good job presenting things in a very good way to a regular mainstream audience. So yeah, she has good stuff over there. Let's see, this week I made a complete switch from Bluetooth earphones to wired. I've even started using my Bluetooth headphones as wired-only devices. I no longer have to worry about charging them. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go on a rant here. So I think this is overall, in the scheme of what you need to focus on in your privacy and security journey, this isn't high up there. I think most people can use Bluetooth devices, and as long as they're modern, up-to-date, and are using up-to-date operating systems. Sorry if you hear some construction, by the way, I don't know if that's getting picked up. But for most people, it's there are larger concerns I would focus on first. But can I just express how much I freaking hate Bluetooth stuff? Bluetooth just never works well, man. And I really despise how everything is just hopped over to being Bluetooth only when it just usability just always kind of sucks. You can never choose which device it's connecting to. And the quality, there's latency issues. And so I try to do some editing. And see, I'm gonna open this Bluetooth headphones thing, and it's just because I'm opening it, it's gonna automatically connect to my computer. I can't stop it from doing that. But I had to purchase a separate thing for my Sennheiser Momentum 4s just so I can do video editing with them. You might be asking, what do you mean? Well, there's so much latency that actually I can't even do proper video editing because I can't be precise in my cuts, because if I click play, it'll be like a half-second latency delay. So Sennheiser, and it's not just a me problem, because they literally sell this frickin' thing that you plug in so that instead of using Bluetooth, it directly connects through USB, and it pretty much gets rid of latency issues. So Bluetooth just sucks ass for anything that's professional, for gaming, anything. The only thing it's good for is just a little bit of extra convenience, and even that extra convenience is somewhat wiped out for me by the fact that I just don't have, it just doesn't ever work automatically. My headphones will connect to the wrong device, and then I have to go in and manually change it anyway, and by the time that happens, I should have just got wired earbuds. So actually, and sorry, one last thing I'm going to complain about with Bluetooth headphones. Microphones always suck with Bluetooth headphones. Trying to listen to someone with AirPods or Bluetooth headphones, I mean, it makes sense. The mics are out here, and you're speaking this way. So actually, what I've been doing, pro tip, so I have this little carrying case. I know it's not the most convenient thing in the world, and I'm going to calm down a little bit because I'm going to give the solution. And I'll switch over to just my video so you have a full screen. So I have my carrying case. These are my Sennheiser Momentum 4s. I love these headphones, by the way, and my favorite thing about them is 60 hours of battery life, which is crazy. But you'll see in here, I also have a pair of wired earbuds. Now, trust me, this is a good life pro tip here. These are actually the old earpods. I bought tips for them. They're just pieces of plastic you attach to them, and the sealing is much better. So you probably get like an extra 20% ceiling. So it has slight more noise cancellation because the regular earbuds, you can hear everything around you. But these do seal them, and it keeps it so you actually can listen to your music at a lower volume and you don't hear as much going on around you. And you get access to literally probably the best microphone if you're calling other people. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think Bluetooth headphones are really nice for convenience when you're calling other people for yourself, but not for them. They're getting probably really crappy audio quality, and then when I switch over to an actual microphone near my mouth, this is like 5 times better mic quality. So I have all of these things, and so when I hop on phone calls, I normally take out these earbuds and I call people with the earbuds, and then the headphones are just for like casual usage / professional usage. And yes, Amir said bro wasn't lying when he said he's going to go on a rant, and I did not lie. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope that wasn't too off topic. And to go back to the stream, I just wanted to say, or the wins, the switch from Bluetooth doesn't have to be for privacy reasons. It can be for usability reasons. And then, let's see. Yeah, the Signal group, they're talking about different options here. Okay, we're gonna go back to only use FOSS. Quite a fitting username. Again, I'm really sorry. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna go through all this. I'll go ahead and try to go through some things that like highlight here. They moved to Graphene OS. They're using numerous profiles on it, and they have a whole configuration. Definitely check out their configuration if you want to learn more in the thread in the description. We're running a bit short on time here. They have Arch Linux. They moved to a new laptop. They have Molly, the Signal fork, as well as a couple other messengers here. They are using Proton. They deleted their Google account. They're trying easy opt-outs. They managed to go without KYC to get Monero, and that means they have donated to quite a few services, it looks like, if that's what you're saying you did. Yeah, and then we're also on XMR chat if you ever want to give us some Monero too. Techlore supports Monero. Also trying to mine Monero. Thinking about purchasing Buskill. Actually, fun note on, I don't know, let's just say I got to chat with the creator of Buskill more personally recently, and he's a great dude. After hearing about Graphene having issues with porting Android 16 due to Google not providing, okay, sorry, found monerocode.com with a lot of stuff you can do with Monero. Yes, and I actually need to get Go Incognito listed on monerocode.com, and they also, thanks to Henry, now know about terms of service didn't read.com. If you don't know what that is, terms of service didn't read allows you to just TLDR any privacy policy online. It's a really good project. It's open source, and it's a cool team behind it. So congrats on all the wins. Sorry I couldn't give you as much attention as I normally would, but I really appreciate you leaving your wins here. We got another win here. My school G Suite account is getting deleted. So that was the theme of the week, is no more G Suite for several people. As a setback, I had to start using my personal Google account after months. They're having me develop scripts in Google Apps Scripts to automate business needs. As much as I hate Google, they do provide some good tech. Plan for next month, delete more accounts, exclusively use Proton and Tuda, and only audit my personal, privacy. So a pro tip here, I know you're not in the forum anymore, but it's okay to still have a Google account maybe for work, but try to keep it compartmentalized if you can. That way it's separate from you, especially if you're using it for work purposes. So just something to try out, and that way you might also not have to pay for it if it's on the employer's time. Let's see, for Windows 11, they found an even better way to strip telemetry than just using a firewall tool. And they're using Safing's Portmaster plus Mullvad VPN together. And so pretty much it looks like they're combining the built-in Windows telemetry block list of Portmaster with a custom DNS, which is Mullvad's public DNS. Downside is that it's slightly slower, but it seems like you're getting a lot of benefits. So congrats, and that is not a bad workflow. Break. How we are doing? How's the pace for the stream? How's everyone in the live chat? I'd love to see how you guys are doing. Just do a quick check-in, and I'll go ahead and get back to some more comments. I think I'm going to go back to comments, and then we'll do one final like run through of these last 20 or so wins. And that will be the last section of the wins, and then I'll just be with you guys in the comment section for a while. Meant to click the chat one. There we go. Let's see where I was. Okay. Have you ever created a full online pseudonym for your online life, such as a VoIP number? Yes, of course. I've made a lot of guides on this, and I wouldn't have been able to make those guides unless I went through the process myself. Pretty much everything on Techlore that I have to cover, I have to get experience with, and it's also one of the reasons I get access to some non-privacy friendly tools as well, because a lot of the content we make is like how to go from this to that. And frankly, I haven't used these tools in like over 10 years myself, so I need to actually use them sometimes. It's one of my least favorite parts of doing this, actually. But yes, and to this day, I still implement a lot of the like online pseudonyms, and I use several of them for different things. So it's a really easy way to gain a lot of privacy and still not really sacrifice much convenience or usability. Highly recommend it. Is Mega safe enough to use it as a cloud storage for personal use? Again, I talked about Mega earlier. I have more favorable opinions than Mega than maybe the average person in the privacy community. I wouldn't trust it for like the absolute most sensitive thing in the world, but I think they actually do a lot of decent things, and I don't just simply distrust them. That's just based on my assessment of them and my threat model and what I'm trying to get out of the service. I don't use them for my main documents or anything, but we've used them internally at Techlore for just our production workflow. Again, I still use them for like our recordings, so that we have a Techlore drop that I send to interviews, like guests on interviews, so that they can upload their footage afterwards. And overall, I've been pretty happy with the service. But it's not the service I would say is the most private and secure out there, but they do some cool stuff. Great stream, thank you, thank you. What do you think of Shadow PC? I don't know. I've never heard of this. Late to the party? Ditching G Suite is huge, bravo. Yes, fully agreed. And a few people ditched G Suite, so it's really cool. Dude, that's my Xbox holder. Wait, which was like my headphone case? Is that what you're talking about? Did you experience a spike in views after that PewDiePie video? I didn't. There was no like direct call out. So no. Yeah, no, not that I noticed. I hate when it jumps. Grr. The only thing is you can never delete your Gmail accounts because of how many accounts are tied to it. I think abandoning it is just as good. So yes, to some extent, right? Like you want to make sure that you thoroughly don't need your Google account anymore before you delete it. And I think there is, to me, really no fundamental difference between you never logging into your Google account again and you just leaving it open and not giving it more data. Right. Did I mix them up? Yeah, to me, there's not a huge difference between just abandoning it and never logging in and just deleting it day one. And I think when it comes to like the risk of like if you delete things too quickly and you lose access to a sensitive account is very high. It's like, especially if you use your Google account for 10 years, it's really hard to fully account for every service that you might have signed up for and things that you might be dependent on still. Or maybe there's you accidentally used Google SSO for one account that you forgot that you had and you need to log into that account and then boom, you deleted the Google account for the SSO so you can't access that account anymore. I've seen that happen to a lot of people. So I do recommend for a lot of you out there to be patient. You're not giving Google more data by just keeping it abandoned. Make certain that it's fully done. Maybe give it a 6-month window, see if anything comes up, and then after 6 months, just be okay with the consequences. You know, just make your own rules around this depending on what kind of risk level you're willing to take. But yeah, it is something to really be careful about. One thing too, I've mentioned this a lot with email. 2 things that you can do. One, if you have your own custom domain, a lot of this doesn't matter. So you can use Gmail with your own custom domain. And if you are already doing that, then you just point your custom domain to another email provider, and then it doesn't matter if you delete your Gmail account. The other thing you can do, if you don't want to go through a custom domain, if that sounds complicated for you, use an aliasing service like Simple Login. One of the most underrated aspects of these aliasing services like Simple Login, like ADIO, any of them, is that you always are going to have the same email aliases, but you can just swap out the mailbox that you're forwarding your emails to. So you're always going to have Facebook at simplelogin.com, Google at simplelogin.com, Amazon at simplelogin.com, but you can just change the email provider behind the scenes. So that's a really good way to have a little bit more independence with your emails. So that's something that all of you can do right now if you're not already doing that. What happened to Go Incognito v2 series? Yeah, it's coming. Again, I'm not trying to share too many details because last time I shared too many details. So it's something that I want to happen soon, and we have a full-time editor now again, which is really exciting. And so it's something that I want to get done pretty quickly. And it's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff right now. And so right now I'm moving over to a new hosting provider for Go Incognito for the premium version. But you will get public announcements as things start happening. What's your social security number? Is there any resources on your site that haven't been updated or that need to be revisited? Not immediately. I do update that pretty frequently. Like the resources on our website, I'll go in every few weeks to a month and see if there's anything that's critically missing. So as far as I know, right now, if I go through it, I will say, yeah, I can't think of anything to change. With that said, it is open source. Open source, I say open source lightly for the resources page because ultimately I do decide what gets listed in the resources. But we have had people who open up pull requests, and sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't. So someone added Zcash, for example. They were a bit pushy, and they added the Techlore star favorite thing on Zcash, even though that wasn't their decision to make. So I did remove the star, and then I did approve the pull request. So it is the kind of thing where if you think something's missing, open up a GitHub issue for it. And if there's a reason to not include it, I'll let you know and close the issue. And if I agree, then we can go ahead and include that. But yeah, they should be pretty up to date right now. Push like button now. Yes, yeah, push the like button. Henry, did you hear about the Tor project lying about OS spoofing? So I briefly heard about this, but it's not something I've super dug into. To be honest, on the Techlore side of things right now, I'm trying to stay away from like the super nitty-gritty technical debates going on. With that said, I should follow up on this, but from people I trust, this seems to be a really overblown issue that's being really dramatized by different people out there. But I could be wrong, so please let me know if this is incorrect. I'd love to hear how my understanding is different. The main thing is that even if this is true, okay, what's the alternative? What are you gonna, like, what is more trusted, more used, and an easier recommendation to give to a ton of people rather than Tor? I don't know. So if Tor does start doing things that genuinely makes it seem like it's compromised and no longer a safe tool, then of course we stop recommending Tor. But you know, there's I2P, but I just don't think I2P's quite as there as Tor project is. So in terms of like being an actual accessible privacy tool for most people. So yeah, feel free to point me towards better resources, and I'd love to learn if there's something I'm missing there. see. Best wishes to all. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we see some more fights between number 1 and 2. Oh, Johnny got bumped to number 2. Whoa. These are Byte Hunter. These are privacy wins. So this was someone's privacy win. They deleted G Suite. So yeah, it's not about me. Yeah, and then I guess for me internally, it is just one Google account that I use for things like Techlore. And I do have it also for Google Voice. And I do think Google Voice is a really cool service to use with Google, to be honest. So it's a pretty like siloed Google account that I do have to have for this channel. And yes, it doesn't even have a Gmail account tied to it. So like when I log into Gmail, it's always like, create your Gmail. And it's like, oh. No, everyone's asking me about Ironfox. Yeah. Is Ironfox like genuinely this popular? Or like, why is everyone spamming Ironfox today? I'm just asking. I'm always sussed out when someone's like just like on the same day asking me about a service, because I get projects out there that literally spam the comment section with their project, and then I start adding that project to my YouTube blacklist so that they stop spamming the frickin' videos. I don't think that's Ironfox, but that's just why I'm like instantly like, Okay, so I now am going to go through the last series of wins. I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible. Again, I am trying to kind of prioritize as best I can here, but I can't give everyone all the attention they deserve today. We just have a lot to go through. Okay. Corsa. They configured some firewalls. They decided to self-host Crafty controller. I don't know what this is, but it looks like some gaming thing, which is why I don't know what it is. They also ran Proxmox on a good old Think Center, which consumes very little electricity, effectively making this option 1, if not the cheapest way to host a Minecraft server. I'm gonna be real, guys. I know like almost nothing about gaming, so I think this is cool, maybe. I don't know, but that looks pretty awesome. And then they do have some gratitude that they wanted to express to a few projects. So thank you for sharing your journey. And I know other gamers know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm sure they know better. Their win this week, they've encrypted their external hard drive. They started yesterday by copying all contents to other drives. And then they had planned to format. So during the process, I noticed Lux did a little reading, and now their main drive is encrypted, and they're planning on doing the same with other drives. Good job. It's a bit of a transition if you haven't done it already. I actually had to do this with my Synology NAS because one of the things that Synology was missing for the longest time was main drive encryption. It sounds so simple. But the reason why I actually bought a new drive was so that I could use the new drive to hold my data, encrypt the other drives, and then bring back the data, and then add the drive back. That's literally the process that I had to go through. It was a nightmare. But after the weekend, I did it. And so I kind of know how complicated and annoying it can be to like encrypt drives that you already have data on. So once you do it once, though, you never have to deal with it again. Rolls Ice Cream, they're making a little list of FOSS projects so that it could be like a checklist to donate to them. I would donate 3 to 5 euros to a project every month, depending on how much I rely on it. So it's a cool little system. The Tourist, they've improved their browser privacy, and on mobile they're using Tor browser and CreepGS. Reports that they visited the site 69 times in the last 138.5 days. While I'm not using Molvet browser, where CreepGS reports that I visited that many times, high number means my browser is blending in with other users, making me very difficult to track. I've also set uBlock Origin to medium blocking mode, which involves blocking third-party scripts and frames other than videos and captchas. Everything works just fine. So this is actually something people don't know about. If you go to uBlock Origin, which is the ad blocker as well as tracker blocker you can install in browsers, and I highly recommend everybody installs it in any of their browsers. It's like the only universal hardening tip that everyone pretty much universally agrees on is to install uBlock Origin in your browser. If you go to their GitHub page, their guides actually walk you through different modes that you can set uBlock Origin to. And uBlock Origin by default is on like the lightest mode, but you can actually enable not just medium, but also hard mode. And so that is not hard, like advanced. I forgot what they call it, but it's essentially the most rigorous mode where it's going to block the most amount of things and also break the most amount of things. I set uBlock Origin to medium mode, and for the sites that I visited, it literally made no difference to me. So that is something for you guys to check out as well. Rolls Ice Cream donated to Calyx. It's a priority for me to donate with what's currently happening, and it's unironically a blessing. I believe you are also the one who moved over to the Motorola device, so if so, it makes sense why you wanted to donate to them. They're a really cool team, and I really enjoy the work, and they are going to be at Hope Conference, I believe, soon, so I believe you should be able to find them there. Let's see, a psychological win. Okay, this should be interesting. They removed Portmaster since the Mullvad VPN Portmaster seems a bit overkill in hindsight. I use my Windows install less and less, most things I do on Fedora. Furthermore, I now just have the VPN for web browsing because I set up split tunneling for most non-browsing apps such as Steam. That way I can keep the VPN on auto connect on startup mode and still enjoy a fast download speed. So I think I talked about this in the last stream, or I hinted at it somewhere. I made a pretty drastic change in my VPN usage as well, and it speaks a lot to this. And so let me go ahead and touch on that. So what I started doing is I went ahead and migrated to just using a VPN extension, specifically Proton VPN's extension, which is actually technically a proxy, even though they call it Proton VPN's VPN extension. My reasoning for this is almost all of the apps and programs that I use on my operating systems are already trusted. That's point one. And I wasn't getting a huge amount of value from using a VPN in those contexts because I already trusted all the data in those apps and programs. That's why I have them installed on my system. I also was finding the most amount of issues with those programs. Like the ones I trust also for some reason weren't working well with my VPN, or my VPN was just causing a lot of slowdowns in those contexts. The third thing is that VPNs are just kind of a pain in the ass to run system-wide sometimes. A lot of times, like on certain operating systems, like if you're on Mac OS or iOS, there is no split tunneling. Of course, if you're on Android, there is. And on Linux, most VPNs, you should be able to find it as well. But it's a mixed bag if you want to split tunnel your VPN. And on top of all of that, it's just kind of slow, and it makes all your web traffic significantly slower. And for me, the latency was the most noticeable impact. So I reflected a bit more on why I'm using a VPN. And I realized, partially thanks to the Mullvad browser and Mullvad's extension being there with their proxy, I realized that a majority of the instances where the VPN gives me most value is actually just in my web browser. I don't want websites to be able to just easily tie my browser identity by my IP address, which is a very easy way to tie browser traffic together, as well as tell a certain location that you're in. And so this is, funny enough, Apple's approach to VPNs. Apple's Private Relay is a Safari-only VPN, and they don't do anything system-wide. And I think it's for the reasons I just listed out. That's where you're going to find a majority of privacy benefit for most people, and it's going to have the least amount of compatibility issues with the software that people are running on their devices. So that is something I'm trying out. So I actually stopped doing a system-wide VPN, and I'm doing a DNS filtering system-wide, but I'm only using a proxy/VPN within my browsers. And it's been going pretty well, actually. And one really hidden side effect is even if your VPN does split tunneling, you can't add site exclusions. So a really cool usability benefit is I've been able to actually exclude certain websites that I don't want my VPN to go through because of the browser extension. So that's a cool little win where I kind of have split tunneling within my browser. So something to think about. I'm still gathering my thoughts on this. I also experiment back here and see if things work or don't work. So I'm trying it out. And that's my little spiel on browser VPNs. Let's see, not so much I did this week. Deleted some accounts, started using Tudo for my calendar and some family members to email me, and using Proton Mail for other things. Also reduced daily phone usage and some more small changes. They are small changes, but they add up. And what you listed out is actually a pretty massive win. So good job. All right, Array Pirates, they did the step and installed Calyx on their Fairphone. If I could, I'd prefer Graphene. But again, I don't think Graphene's interested in supporting Fairphone, but Calyx is. So again, it's important to have that device compatibility thoughts as well. Graphene is very pixel oriented, so if you can get a pixel, that's probably the best option there. Otherwise, Calyx does support Fairphone, which is really cool. They decided to not install microG and to get a mostly de-Google device, and that will definitely give up a bit of compatibility, but as long as you're okay with that, then that's great. And then they did find somewhat of a solution to some of their problems, which is BeaconDB, which I've never heard of, but it looks like it's working well for you. And again, I would love to dive a little bit more into this, but we're limited on time. But it seems like they're really happy with it so far, so good job with the phone. Let's see, some people shared some advice here. Okay, this is the last win. Last year, I switched from Google Passwords to Bitwarden, and recently I moved a bunch of my personal stuff from Google Drive to Proton Drive, Google Keep to NotesNook, and Google Calendar to Proton Calendar. I also switched from Chrome to Brave, although I was mostly motivated by ending support of uBlock Origin. I still have some stuff on Google, but it's either encrypted so Google can't see, or unencrypted but not secret, so I don't care if it gets leaked. Really awesome stuff, and I think it's a perfect way to end the wins of the week, because these are all massive wins. So congrats to everybody. I want to thank you all for, oh yeah, Itchy LOL 742, that is you. Look at that, Itchy LOL 742, Itchy LOL 742. And Kiki Koala is back, kind of late, but hey, yes, you just got to the fun part where I'll be in the comments for you guys, so maybe you're not too late. But yeah, I definitely want to thank you all for being patient as I've taken a while to resume the stream, but it's really good to be back, and I hope to be back next week as well for you all. Again, I really appreciate all of your guys' patience because, you know, team changes and stuff like that, as well as me traveling, going to different cool conferences for these cool privacy projects, doing cool things. But I'm really happy to be back. And so let me go ahead and keep up with you in the comments. I'm going to open this new tab here. And let me, okay, there we go. Where did I leave you all off? Have you heard that the EU age verification app to ban, not licensed? Okay, have you heard that the EU age verification app to ban any Android system not licensed by Google? I have not heard this yet. Please, in the comments after this goes live, feel free to point me towards this. What did they win? They won privacy. Ironfox isn't popular. It's a very underrated, but I want it to be popular since it's a really good browser. Yeah, I'll go check it out then. Yeah, so I am doing somewhat of a game, I suppose. There's this goal thing, goal ended, start another goal. What if we do, here, we're not gonna do the goals. We'll try the goals again next week, but I wanted to, and maybe I'll keep the same prize or whatever, like I do wanna share about it. But yeah, pretty much, if you guys like the goal system, let me know. We can try it again next week. In the meantime, feel free to share any of your wins in the live chat, and also share any questions you have, or just anything you want to talk about, or how your day is going. Really anything. The Signal group has some stuff here. Let's see. Fire Dragon, with what VPN, Henry? No, Proton VPN's VPN extension is what I'm using right now. Even like in that screen recording with the forum, it was using Proton VPN. Yeah, no, Mullvad doesn't have a proxy only that you can just use independently. Like Mullvad's proxy requires you to use Mullvad VPN, and it adds a proxy on top of it. Proton's, you can essentially just connect to the proxy without needing the VPN connection. So again, Mullvad gave me the idea, and then I actually got something that properly did what I was trying to do, which is Proton. uBlock Origin is great. Manifest v3's update, breaking extensions like uBlock, finally pushed me back towards a Firefox-based browser. And yeah, that's honestly really fair. I think Brave still technically supports uBlock Origin, but I don't know how long they're gonna, just do that for the good of the community. So yeah, it's a big downside. Is Google's advanced protection program worth it? I need to turn it off for Proton. In what respect? Yeah, why? That shouldn't need to be a thing. My only guess as to what you're stumbling on is if you're on an Android device and you have Google Advanced Protection Program enabled and you're trying to install Proton via an APK directly or through a third-party app store. And if so, then what I recommend is disabling the Advanced Protection Program, installing whatever apps you need, and then re-enabling it. That's kind of the workaround solution. Yeah, but I don't know why you'd have to turn it off to use Proton. That's the only circumstance I can think of it. If you do have to use a Google account for any reason, like if you have a YouTube channel or anything else, or for business, or even if you have a personal Google account, I am a big fan of enabling their advanced protection program. It is something that will give you a solid amount of security. I have not heard of Ente. Oh, I need to look into that. I don't know if that's true, but I'll have to look into that. Browser fingerprint, is there a workaround? There's no obfuscation extensions. I read it's best to use the fingerprint to blend in. So, very loaded question. I just made a browser fingerprinting masterclass. I believe it's like 30 to 40 minutes. It's pretty long. And I walk you through not just like, what to do, but more so it's foundational. Like here is what browser fingerprinting is. Here are the misconceptions. Here's different options and different approaches to tackling it, because it is not just one thing I can recommend to you. It's actually very complicated, it's very nuanced, and it's very new still, and it's not super clear what the best option is yet for everybody, right? It's not like a universal thing. So the only thing I can recommend to you, at least from my end, is the browser masterclass video that I just put out for browser fingerprinting. It's very thorough, and I spent a long time putting some good research into that. I really want you to make a video on Firefox. Please do it. It is very underrated. It deserves more popularity. I'll check it out, guys. Oh my God. I'll check it out. No promises. We have a lot of content to go through, and there's a big queue. I mean, yeah, so there's a lot to get through and a lot of projects that I want to get out, but I will try to dig into it. Why does it skip like that? Bad news for those with de-Googled phones. Soon EU will release the age verification app, and the app will ban any Android system not licensed by Google. Again, I have to look into this, so this is news to me. I have not. I do not use the Snowflake extension for Tor, not for any good reason, mainly because I like to just keep the extensions in my browser very minimal. But if you guys want, the Snowflake extension is a good way to support the Tor network if that's something you want to do. Essentially, you're pretty much contributing your bandwidth to helping make Tor more easily accessible in places that ban Tor. So that's something you can check out. I think this is a simplification of a very complicated problem, and it's not just about shady content on your smartphone. I just made a video on age verification in the UK that people should check out. It's a much deeper issue than a lot of people are giving it credit for. what are the extensions you recommend very much for using on Firefox or Firefox-based browsers? I'll keep it simple. I think everyone should have uBlock Origin, and that's the only extension I will universally recommend to everybody out there. From there, it's using as few extensions as you need. For most people and for myself, it's always uBlock Origin and a password manager extension, and that's it. And now recently, again, like I said, I've been playing around with the Proton VPN extension as well. Now, I do have one browser that I use for different tools, and that's for social media management. I think it's something that makes Twitter more minimal, so it just gets rid of the trending tab and things like that. It does some really cool things, but that's in its own browser that's specifically for social media management, essentially. So you can play around with things, but in terms of my go-to regular browser, I keep things as simple as I possibly can, and that's what I recommend to most people. But it's very personal preference. You might need an extension for one particular reason or another. I want to correct you, Henry. Mullvad says they ask you to use any trustworthy VPN, not just Mullvad VPN with the Mullvad browser. No, so what I was trying to say, just to make sure we're all on the same page, yes, of course, you can use Mullvad browser without any VPN. You can use it with Proton. You can use it with Mullvad. What I'm specifically referring to is the Mullvad extension in the Mullvad browser is a proxy. And you can only use the proxy function in their extension with Mullvad VPN on system-wide. So that's kind of the nuance here. Maybe I didn't make that super clear. So again, if you want to use the Mullvad VPN proxy, you can't just enable the Mullvad VPN proxy. It only will work if you're connected to Mullvad VPN, which is different from Proton VPN's proxy, because the Proton VPN extension, which theoretically you technically can install the Mullvad browser if you want to. I do not recommend it, but just to prove my point, you can install that and just enable the Proton VPN proxy in the Mullvad browser without needing Proton VPN running in the background on your system. So that's kind of what I was trying to say. Does that make sense? If not, let me know and I'll try to clear it up more. Let's buy YouTube, y'all. Is that what you said? Fund me. Let's buy off YouTube, y'all. Fund me. Okay. You know what, Amir? If you make a good quality YouTube alternative, I will happily fund you to my best ability. PeerTube is fine. It's rough around the edges, and it was a pain in the ass to get our instance set up, which, by the way, please do check it out. That is, next week I'll try to also stream there as well. Techlore.tv. This is hosted on our ends. It has other privacy content there as well. It's supposed to be like a one-stop shop to access digital rights content. And I absolutely adore it. And I spent a lot of time to make it very flashy and have it have a lot of cool features. One cool thing about it, aside from it being just a really nice way to access content that's fully open source, is it has related forum discussions on the bottom. So this is actually in some ways linked to our forum. And sorry, my cursor is hidden in OBS. That's normally a good feature, but not right now. So I guess you can't see my cursor. But yeah, I'm really happy with Techlore.tv. And you can follow it from literally anything in the Fediverse. So if you have a Mastodon account, you can follow these accounts. You can subscribe. You don't need to have any kind of PeerTube account. So it's really cool tech. Highly recommend it. Techlore.tv. According to the Techlorians on Signal, apparently the stuff about Calyx is true, which I haven't heard of yet. So thank you for letting me know. I have a lot of things to look into after this stream. Which firewall app would you recommend the most for using on Android? I really like Rethink DNS. It's in our website's resources as well. The dev is pretty active on our forum, actually, and they seem to be doing a lot of cool stuff. So I'd really check out Rethink. Is Firefox with uBlock Origin or Brave better for Android? That's a good question. Maybe you can tell right now that I don't have a clear answer. I don't have a strong reason to say this or the other. Historically, I've always opted to use Brave on Android myself because I just like how it's fully ready to go out of the box. You don't have to use extensions. I just overall prefer the UI and the layout of Brave on Android. And I like the features like background YouTube playback and things like that. And the playlist feature is really cool for offline content. So that's my reasons for using Brave. But honestly, Firefox with uBlock Origin on Android is also fantastic. So I would say use both, see what works. And frankly, there's probably a use case for most people to have both browsers on their system, which I have done as well on Android devices. So like, I don't have a strong reason to tell you to use one or the other is kind of my point here. Are there other people like you who give advice about privacy you can suggest? Yeah, so if you go to our website, techlore.tech/resources, pull it up. /resources. I should just keep the tabs open. You can go into the sidebar and just go to the bottom and you'll see external resources. Like I've always been in support of not just getting all your information from us, like everything kind of, I fully believe in everything I put out, otherwise I wouldn't put it out. But of course, like I think that different stuff speaks to different people. And so feel free to check out any of the external sources. These are all projects or people that I highly respect. It includes creators, it includes digital rights orgs, it includes people who make guides online. And of course, maybe there's something there that I don't like, but you like. So go ahead and just play around with it. But these are kind of the main places I normally push people to start looking. And then these people have other people they like. So yeah. That's just my video live stream with chat. Hello. And then back to comments. I'll probably stream for about another 5 or 10 minutes. So just giving you all a heads up, kind of like second/last call for any comments you guys want to leave. Would you ever recommend to use AI to learn more about cybersecurity or privacy? Yeah, I mean, that's a fairly hot question, like it's pretty polarizing. No matter what, fact check any information that you get. I've been embracing AI a little bit more behind the scenes, especially for production and work and doing things like our script writing and things like our transcripts has been massively helpful to have AI for. And so, but it makes mistakes sometimes. And, you know, I wouldn't use it as my only source of learning. I think that you can learn a lot from the organizations that I already listed, and AI is essentially probably getting all its information from those sources anyway, to be honest. So I would say maybe have a combination, but also try to go to the primary source when you can, because a lot of the stuff that AI is going to say might not be accurate, or it might not have all the context of you. So that's what I'd say. You suggest Ente Auth a lot. Do you suggest it over something like Yubico Authenticator app, or is it just for people without YubiKeys? The reason I recommend Ente a lot is because it fits literally everyone's use case for the most part. It's open source, it's free, it's cross-platform. You can use it fully offline without an Ente account, or you can use it with end-to-end encrypted syncing with an Ente account. Literally, it knocks off every checklist for almost every person out there. That is why it's such an easy recommendation. Yubico Authenticator does not do that. I don't believe it's open source. I don't know if it has, I could be wrong, but I don't know if it's cloud syncing at all. Maybe it does, again, I don't know. But yeah, from what I've understood, Yubico Authenticator app is more geared towards people who already have YubiKeys. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure you still can use it without a YubiKey. I don't have a huge amount of experience with it. If you think that it's better than Ente for any particular reason, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know why. Ah! Why does it skip like that? This is my first time attending one of your live streams. How often do you do live streams here? Is there like a routine? Yeah, so normally when we're back, which we currently are, hello, it's every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So the time right now. So it's a weekly thing. And it's been offline for the last 5 or 6 weeks, like a month and a half, I think. I don't remember exactly when the last stream was, due to me traveling and focusing on just content for a while. But this is the first one back, so you should be able to tune in again next Friday. Yeah, I don't use any YubiKey software. Like I know YubiKey has a desktop program. I know YubiKey has Yubico Authenticator, and I use YubiKeys, and I don't use any of the software. They work natively without needing to install anything. Like all modern operating systems, pretty much for the most part, all natively support the YubiKey tech that they depend on. Yeah, it's a good question. I'll check in to see if Rethink is still active. That's good to know. You guys are teaching me a lot today, so thank you for that. Firefox doesn't have no sandboxing. This is a big misconception out there. A lot of people, for some reason, have this narrative that they keep pushing that Firefox is like, the moment you use it or touch it, it's grossly insecure and you're gonna get hacked. Tor project uses Firefox, and there's a good reason they use Firefox. A lot of the most trusted browsers out there are based on Firefox. Firefox itself is perfectly safe to use. These are very technical and very high threat model discussions that I think people take as absolutes for some reason. Yes, it does seem like Firefox does have room to grow in terms of making it a bit more secure to catch up to some of the cool stuff that Chrome's doing. But I think it's more of a testament to how ahead of the curve Chrome is in some regards, rather than how behind Firefox is to some extent. You know, it really depends on perspective here, but I really want to get away from this because Firefox does have some sandboxing. It does have protections in place for things. So I don't want everything to be so black and white, which is how a lot of this stuff is presented. Isn't safe to say that your TOTP app shouldn't touch the internet? I don't understand why syncing is a thing. So I've talked about this a lot. Yes, if you're trying to be a security absolutist, then yes, keep your TOTP codes offline and keep them just on one device, or maybe have a backup device that's powered off all the time, however you want to go about that. With that said, the main thing that you're trying to protect from when you have TOTP is some kind of data breach. That's the most likely scenario, right? Like let's say you have an Amazon account and Amazon has a data breach and it leaks your plain text passwords. Or let's say you reuse your password and someone is able to get access to your Amazon account because you use the same password you use for your bank. In those situations, this is where TOTP would save you, and whether or not your TOTP is cloud synced or not isn't going to change that, right? So the main thing we're trying to protect against is password leaks, password sharing, where the scenario is someone gets access to your passwords, which can happen in a multitude of ways. It doesn't require individually targeting someone and breaking through their cloud syncing TOTP. So of course, there's better and best, and better is just simply enabling TOTP. Whether or not it's cloud synced, whether or not it's in your password manager, it doesn't matter. Just having it enabled is the most important thing. And then if you want to do the best case scenario, then yes, you offload TOTP in its own offline dedicated environment. So that's my spiel. I'd say good, better, best. Good is just using a cloud-based password manager with TOTP codes in there as well. Better is maybe a cloud-based TOTP app that's separate from your password manager, and then best is just an offline dedicated TOTP app that's fully separate from your password manager on like its own isolated device. That's how I break it down. Erg. Cool. Thanks for expanding, Yara. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and do last calls here for the last minute or two. And while I let you guys leave your last final comments here, I just want to again thank you all for your patience. I really missed doing these streams, so when I was gone, it was something that I consistently missed every Friday, and every Friday I'm like, I really want to try to make this the week, but I didn't want to just come back for a week and then disappear again the next week. I wanted to make sure I waited till I come back and we can go ahead and get back into our routine. So I just want to thank you all for still going through the Techlore forum and still leaving wins even though it wasn't being updated. And also, let me go ahead and pull it up. Next week's is already live, so you can go ahead and leave your wins right now on the forum. Just go to discuss.techlore.tech, and the next one is already live. People are already leaving their wins, and so yeah, I'd love to have you guys there. And Garujo says, Henry, my comments on Signal. Yeah, I want to read the stuff first. I can't read the whole blog post, but apparently the Calyx stuff is legit, so I need to look into it. Yeah. Let's see. Cool. Any last comments from anybody? Let's check this out. Where did my oh that looks so cursed. Move it back. Oh, I could have just Controlled Z. There we go. Do you have firewall/VPN recommendations for Linux? I can't get Proton to work with Portmaster, and I don't know any good alternatives either. Yeah, you know, that's a really good question. I haven't done a lot of testing to see which VPNs work with Portmaster, so this might require a bit of DIY and also some more research on your end. I will say, Portmaster was bought out by iVPN, and they just released a V2, and so my guess is that most likely the best answer to this question is going to be to use iVPN with Portmaster, and I'm sure they're going to make the integrations tighter for that. I don't know if that's true yet because I haven't tested V2, but that is probably going to be the best answer. And I say this as someone who's not currently using iVPN, but I think it's a great project, so it's very likely they'll be building that in together. Do you think it's possible to host a .onion PeerTube instance? I don't expect to anytime soon. Nothing we host is formally hosted on the Tor network right now. Like, we don't have a techlore.tech onion URL, we don't have the forum as an onion URL, and I question how useful it would be to stream video over an onion URL. So I will think it over. If you guys really want to see that, let me know. But yeah, do share. But it'd be pretty complicated to set up, and I already am just having to deal with PeerTube alone without having to make it an onion thing. We want to thank you for making this content. Thank you, Jarne. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Take care, everyone. Yes. Thank you, late to the party. It's a bit too much. We're logging off, so I might we might touch on that next week if you really want to. Okay, that's it. Thank you all again for tuning in. You're all awesome. It's really great to be back with all of you. And if you really enjoy what's happening here, we have affiliate links that you can be a part of, affiliate links that you can use. That's one way to support. I'll just pull up the support page. If you guys like what's going on and you want to see how to support, there's free support methods. So you can literally just go ahead. If you're ever looking at a privacy tool, we have just optional affiliate links that you can click before you use them. It's a huge way to support us. You can, of course, just be active in our communities. That's massively helpful. And then we also have paid ways. So you can directly send some Monero. You can be a Techlorian. You can do that via Patreon. You can do that via YouTube, or you can do that via the forum. And of course, we have PayPal and some other cool ways that you can support us. So couldn't do it without all the amazing supporters. and you guys are awesome for just being involved and taking care of your digital rights, your privacy and your security. And that's all I have. So thank you all. Thank you all in the Signal group. Thank you all on YouTube. And thank you all future viewers who are watching this in the future for tuning in.